This is Dan again from learningcameras.com, and I've got the Tascam DR-60 here, and I've been using this for a little while actually. I didn't get a review done of it or anything in depth when I first got it. This is really a field recorder. I wanted to put it through its paces and then just kind of give you guys my impressions after using this for a little while, especially now that the Zoom H6 is out and the DR-60 has some solid competition in this market. So previously, Zune's H4n has been it's been out for a little while. It didn't offer some of the features that this did, but now it's really a little bit more of a competitor to it. So you have something else that's a decent, solid option compared to this. Now, the big difference between them is this is only a recorder. It does not have any onboard mics, whereas that one has interchangeable mics. Now, I have microphones, so it wasn't a big deal to me. However, in a pinch, you could have something like that as a mic. Now, I also have the DR-07, and the DR-07 has a mic, and it's basically a smaller version of what the Zoom offers. And so, I just didn't need a mic for this one. This was just going to be my field recorder. Here are the reasons that I picked it up. It has everything on it. You're talking about 4 channels. You can run them all independently. You can run them stereo. It's got headphone out, headphone in, camera in. You have separate volume controls for your camera out. You have separate volume controls for your headphones. You have a line out separately than all the other ones. SD cards, USB. Basically, you can take XLR, 1/4 inch. You can take mini, 3.5 millimeter mini. You can take, basically, you can do anything that you want on this. It does have a remote control as well. And then batteries, 4 AA batteries. And you can get external power for this as well. The nice thing is that if you want to, it can hook right in between your tripods. So you can just screw this into your base of your tripod. It's fairly heavy, so keep that in mind. And then it does have a 1/4 20 on the bottom as well. So if you wanted to mount the other end onto your tripod, you could have this with you all the time, mounted on your camera and hooked onto your tripod. Or you could mount this separately on a tripod just next to your camera. So if you have 2 tripods, that's another option as well. It gives you a nice, clean readout. And the only thing I will say is there's no button really to initiate the lit up LCD display. So it'll go off in a little bit by default, and you can set the time, but there's no way to really make it go on other than hitting a button and turning it. And I just hate hitting buttons that aren't specifically for that while I'm recording, even though it likely won't actually damage my recording file. I'm not hitting stop or anything like that. I just don't like doing it. So I wish there was like a little light button, similar to what we have in our cameras, to initiate a light on the top LCD on something like on the 7D. I have a light button right on here that makes that light up. Something like that would be very nice to see on this. But overall, you have phantom power out. You do have powered out on your 3.5 millimeter. So if you have like a lapel mic that needs some power, you can generate a couple volts of power through that. And then you have line in, mic in on both of these inputs. Separate volume controls for all of the above. They have a variety of mixing modes that you can do on this, and you have basically all your normal options that you'd find on a high-end recording. Here's some of the things that I've noticed after using it for a while, because you guys have all seen the spec sheets. One is this is marketed really as a pretty robust recording device, and I will say that I managed to break one of these posts just a little bit. Here it is. It actually cracked right here at the screw where it holds it on, and it looks like it would be replaceable just by undoing that screw. You could probably buy a new one of these and use it. I have not taken this anywhere. This happened in a bag. This has never fallen. I don't go into harsh environments with this. It usually sits next to a sound booth. It sits next to my camera. It really has not taken a beating that it should be breaking at this level. These pieces are just plastic right here, and so apparently they can snap pretty easily. So I will say that was a disappointment for me in the robustness of this, because I really was not expecting to basically use this to what it's supposed to be made for. This was not mounted to a camera going out in the field with me taking a beating or anything like that when this happened. It probably happened in a bag, just normal moving around from inside of a bag. So that's one thing. The other thing I will say is this. It only has the actual recording on it, you can record. Let me get the input settings so I can just basically, so you have the wave normally, and then it has the BFW or the BWF file, which is, you know, basically like a wave file with some extra information tacked on into it. You do not have any MP3 recording. Now, for most people, you might say, why would you want MP3? It's a horrible file quality. It's nowhere near as good as a wave. At least have the wave file and then export the MP3 if you need it. I'm going to tell you why, because a lot of times I upload straight to the internet for my audio files. They're not going anywhere else. Doing it as a WAV file means, and then I'm deleting them. So doing it as a WAV file means that I have to use a lot more storage. I have to use a lot more storage to go to my computer. I know it's never going to be used for anything else other than internet quality, so I don't need a WAV file. Now, my DR-07, it allows me to use an MP3, and most other recorders allow an MP3. So I really hope that Tascam allows maybe a firmware. I've contacted them about it, a firmware update that allows MP3 recording. I know they were probably thinking this is a high-end device. Why would you need MP3 recording? But you know, sometimes you're just going straight to the web, or I'm streaming out to another camera, and I'm just kind of using this as a backup. And I might not need that high-end recording for something like that. And I'm not going to CD audio or anything like this. This is not going to be finished quality on a DVD. So, you know, those are my two big qualms with it. Other than that, this thing has really lived up to its expectations. It has inputs for everything and features for everything and functions for everything. It's not that difficult to figure out how to use. There are some features on this, like you can choose what you're monitoring with your headphones. You can choose if you're monitoring from what input. If you want to monitor one mic but not the other one, or if you want to monitor the mix of the two of them together, you can do all of that on this. It's a little more advanced options. Some of those advanced options, if you don't have a separate guy taking the audio and you're doing both at the same time, it can be a little distracting having all of those abilities on this device. But you know, if you don't need it, you don't have to use it. So it's one of those things. It's always great to have, and if you don't need it, you don't have to use it. Overall, it's been a great device quality-wise. It's really held up. Oh, the only other thing I don't like is the battery life on this is horrible. You're talking a couple hours maybe on a AA by a couple, 2 to 3, maybe 4. I really charge before I use this for multiple. If I'm going to use this for an assignment, I'm going to bring a spare pair of batteries, and I'm probably going to change batteries immediately after using that, because the battery life just isn't that great. Already on this, I've just charged up those batteries not too long ago, and I am down one actual thing on the battery meter. So I'm probably down about 30% right now, and it's hardly been used at all for that. So you know, that those are the main downsides I will say to a unit like this versus some of the other ones. But you could USB power this if you wanted to, and you could just use, you know, high-end nice rechargeable batteries, and then you don't have to worry, bring a spare. A couple hours of shooting, you're going to get through whatever mix you're trying to make. The only downside is that you're not going to get through a whole day of shooting with this on a single pair of batteries or something like that. You're going to be changing them probably 2 to 4 times, I'd say, on a longer shoot. So it is fairly heavy. It's not extremely portable, but you could hook this to a belt or something like that, carry it with you, or it carries right on the camera. Pretty good, not too shabby at all. So, you know, there's my impressions after using this for a month. Some good, some bad. For the price, it's nice. There really isn't anything out there that does all of this for that price. Compared to the Zoom, if you ever think you're going to be using the mics, I'd probably go for the Zoom. It's a little more expensive, but you do have that ability if you ever need it. On this, you're stuck. You're going to always have to bring an extra mic with you, and that's the only downside for it. But if you want to save some money, if you know you're not going to need a mic, if you have plenty of mics, great way to go. I love the form factor, and I love the ability to basically have it mounted or something like that in front of you and be making all the controls, mounts to a tripod so easily. So I do prefer the form factor to this than the new Zoom, the higher end Zoom model right now. So great model. Those are the only things to look out for. If you don't have any problems with those, go ahead and pick this up. Good solid unit.